help intelligence officers in providing the required information to support the necessary information and evidence for diplomacy. How in the world are you going to be a good diplomat if your diplomacy isn't informed by good intelligence? If your diplomacy is informed by they're evil, they're all vile, if that's your diplomacy, I mean, if that's your intelligence, if your intelligence reinforces the assumption that these people are base, subhuman, inhuman, these people aren't worthy of recognition, these people, what are your diplomats going to, your diplomats are going to have exactly the same arrogant, pompous sort of mode of existing in the world. Your diplomats leave, and your diplomats go about the world like, oh, I mean, obviously, we can't negotiate with them because look at them, they're so vile. It might be the case that they actually are. I don't know. It's more likely the case that they're not. But the idea is that diplomacy is, so in terms of, and I love the hybridization between international relations and political science properly and segmented. But the idea is you can't properly do international relations, you can't properly do good IR when the information that the diplomats are informed by, you do know diplomats get top secret clearance, top secret documents. Those top secret documents are themselves given and informed by policymakers, which are themselves created and constructed by the intelligence community, so that you can do the hypothetical syllogism and recognize that the intelligence community indirectly gives the diplomats their briefings, the stuff that they take to the meetings to talk to a person face to face. If this is telling me that they are crap, wow. Don't believe in human beings to the point that I am going to have, I'm not that naive. And this might be a weakness of mine. But I'm not naive enough to think that someone is going to get a top secret security clearance briefing, a diplomat, that says, be careful, they're super dangerous, don't trust these dudes, and then that person is going to be able to sit down in the negotiation room and be able to objectively assess the relationship with this person, because the way in which they interpret the negotiation has already been framed by this distrust. We're human beings. This happens all the time, right? So that the idea is that our diplomacy, right, in terms of the intelligence need for intelligence in order to produce and facilitate diplomatic relations for whatever reason, probably more obviously than not, diplomatic relations to reinforce and facilitate economic growth, educational accessibility, what have you, humanitarianism, what have you. The idea is diplomats are informed by their briefing, and their briefing has to be as rational as possible, reason-based as possible, least bit of emotion possible. It doesn't need to have character assassinations in it, because insofar as we try to homogenize collective groupings of others, that is going to undermine our diplomatic, and I mean our in whatever sense, not just the United States, but that is going to undermine our diplomatic relations with others, because they will perceive us as perceiving them as less than us. If you understand that, right? You got to go into the diplomatic relation like, what's up, man? I'm here, let's talk. Right? So that intelligence really needs to be what it truly has to be, which is unbiased, critical, absolutely rational debriefing of a current state of affairs. Okay, so the key point is intelligence is not exclusively for defense, offense, but diplomacy requires intelligence as well. You can't do diplomatic relations, you can't do IR without good intel. You can't. And that intel itself has to be, again, as unbiased as conceivably possible, while keeping the mission in mind. Right? To be clear, it is never the case that any sovereign nation should put aside their mission for international relations. Their international relations is a product of their mission. To be clear, that's never going to change. And we're going to have wars and conflict because we have competing missions. But I think, honestly, as we approach deeper into the 21st century, those missions will start to coalesce around some point, which I'm not going to discuss here. I'm writing on that now, and I'll write on that later. But those, I think collectively, the missions will coalesce. And where they don't coalesce, you will have conflict, period. And people will go to war and people will die. But that's nothing new, unfortunately, right? It's just nothing new. Okay, so what's the bad? So that's the good thing. The good thing is that out of these intelligence needs, we recognize that we can facilitate greater diplomacy. We can have stronger connections with our allies and hopefully bridge a possibility for alliance with those who are currently not. All of that requires good, all of it requires good intel, as far as I'm concerned. Alright, what's the con? Needs. Needs are themselves frequently conditioned and influenced by global trends. This is a hugely deep point. I don't want to stress it too much because it's so damn deep. But needs are conditioned by trends. I tell the kids, I say, kids, I want you to tell me what you want for Christmas. What you want for Christmas. Being the good dad that I am, I'm like, let me know what you want for Christmas, and I will, you know, given my budget, try and facilitate as best as my possibility, to the best of my possibility, your desires. I'll try and get you as many of the things that you want, but even if I could get them everything they want, I would never buy them everything that they want. You're going to get a no. My daughter has the audacity. I love her. Maybe this is too personal. I might not share that. But she wanted a really extravagant Christmas gift, and I thought it was the cutest thing. She's young. She's not too young, but she's young enough. And I was just like, oh, and she put it at the very bottom of her list because she recognized this. It's an insane question to ask for. And I was just like, even if I could, and I can, it's not expensive, but I'm not gonna buy it. Why? Because she doesn't need it. It's not a need. She already has something like that. But the idea is, we sometimes misconstrue our wants and our needs. There is a sense in which global trends influence policy needs. And I can go deeper, but I want to see what I've written. Otherwise, I'm not going to go too deep. For those of you who understand that, just let that marinate for a little bit. So, needs are themselves frequently conditioned and influenced by global trends, which themselves evolve and change. Thus, if the need of particular types of intelligence, if the need for particular types of intelligence from the policymakers manifests as a consequence of global trends, what does that look like? It looks like this. I have a trend . I have a global trend which informs, I have a global trend X which informs intelligence needs. But we recognize that intelligence needs themselves serve as a condition for what policymakers need. Policymakers consume intelligence needs. It's the need that gives them, think about the need to eat, that empty feeling in your stomach where it starts to grumble. That empty feeling in your stomach is an absence. Is an absence of food. You feel the absence. I feel an absence, and that absence creates the need for food. Similarly, policymakers, based on global trends, start to feel an absence of something. There's a global trend, and I feel that we don't have enough information about that thing. Thus, we need to start consuming information about that thing. I think the analogy works perfectly. Me being hungry, which I'm not, me being hungry is a condition of a need to eat. I come to recognize in my self-awareness the emptiness of the absence of food in my stomach. That absence conditions me to go and eat and satisfy that emptiness. Policymakers are aware of, if anybody is aware, the most aware. Shout out to policymakers, right? The most aware globally are policymakers. I would hope that's true. This world would be tragedy if it's not true. and professors, obviously, people who do this for a profession. But policymakers are totally aware of what's going on in the globe. Holy crap, this is an emerging trend in the globe. We don't have that in our belly. We don't have that in our belly. We need to consume that. Where do they go? They go to people who create. They go to the chefs. They go to the chefs. See, Wu-Tang, shout out to Raekwon the chef. You feel me? Let's just keep it funky for a second. Let's not get it twisted. Remember, Dr. Campbell is ghetto as hell. And this presentation is brought to you by Wu-Tang Clan and the chef. Let's not get it twisted. Policymakers they obligate then the intelligence community. They obligate the intelligence community to fulfill this need. What do the intelligence community do? On a different level, they create. They create intelligence for consumption. Clear play on words, right? The intelligence community creates intelligence for consumption. And that consumption fulfills the intelligence needs of policymakers. They are satisfied. Their hunger is suppressed. Note, however, why they became hungry. Policymakers became hungry because of this trend. I see a trend. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful about the trends. My daughter sees that, I guess I will say it. My daughter sees that all of her friends, she's in 6th grade. All of her friends have iPhones. Daddy, I need an iPhone. I want an iPhone. I want an iPhone. My daughter, she just got her first phone. And it's a super bootleg phone. It's one of them freaking trash phones that you put minutes on. Because that's what she needs to have. Her daddy just got a damn iPhone, and I got the old one. I'm not buying an iPhone 5. Shout out to iPhone, but I'm not buying that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that. I don't even really need the one I just bought. I was good on the last one. I don't like virtual keyboards. So my daughter goes to me, hey, Daddy, look, I see a trend. What's the trend, sweetie? She's not saying this, but this is the role play ghetto version, so you get this. I see a trend, Daddy. What's the trend, sweetie? All of my friends in 6th grade have iPhones. Wow. Shout out to their parents. New generation of consumers. Guess what, sweetie? We don't do that. You got a little trash phone. You need to get straight A's for a year. And then maybe you'll get an iPhone next year. But the first time you get a B, believe you're going to have the same phone. She'll thank me when she's older. You're not getting no damn iPhone. Forget the trends. I'm sorry, I'm so manic, but I love it. See, it's weird. This brings me tremendous happiness. I just realized how happy I am. I'm very happy when I do this. This is bliss for me. That's why it goes by so slow, because I don't like to see it end. But I think that I give you an authentic lecture, right? The idea is that you can understand it, right? You gotta be careful about the trends. Because it is because there is a trend why you feel the need to consume. That's cool for everybody else, dude. Policymakers, you guys take note. Take note of the trends. Do you want to be like everybody else and get the... I'm being super ghetto here. This has nothing to do with Apple. I hope everybody sees that. Don't be dumb. Policymakers, take note. Because this trend, believe that this trend that creates the desire, the emptiness, to fill it with intelligence is itself conditioned by some other force. To realize that, you'll have to wait for my book, which will come out to explain it, right? All of this is prep work for deep meaning. This is deep, but I don't go that deep. You gotta read it if you want it. So needs of themselves frequently conditioned, and I'll stop at this point because I'm really running out of time. Needs of themselves frequently conditioned and influenced by global trends, which themselves evolve and change. Thus, if the need of particular types of intelligence manifests as a consequence of global trends, this is all me, it is likely that there will be a theoretical one-to-one correlation between the intensity of the global trend and the effect of that trend in solidifying policy needs for corresponding intelligence communities. I have to stop because I'm running out of time. I will promise, I will come back to this point and explain it fully, but I have officially been lecturing for 2 hours. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. Have a good day.